Hey guys, coming at you today with a delicious, silky smooth chocolate cream pie. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia and I'm a pastry chef with a severe sweet tooth. And I'm here to bring you the best keto desserts I possibly can. So if you enjoyed these recipes, please consider hitting the subscribe button, leaving me a comment, giving me a thumbs up on the video. It all helps my channel grow and to bring you new keto desserts every Saturday. Today, a delicious chocolate pudding pie. Some of you had asked about this when I made my cook and serve pudding, and I just hadn't had the time to test and mess with it to see if I can get it to be like a filling for a pie crust. But I wanted to make one at the bakery, so I got to testing, and there wasn't too much to it. I mean, the timing and how much gelatin is kind of meh, but there's a lot of different things you can do with it. So like in this recipe, we're only going to add a cup of whipped cream to the pudding to make the filling, but you can easily add more. It is going to add a little bit more carbs. The problem with a pie that I kind of hate is it's a round pie, and most people want it sliced into 8 slices. But it's kind of a big serving for keto, and also if you do it into 8, it's 4 net carbs per slice, which is kind of high, and that's without any added extras with any whipped cream added on top or anything like that. But it also depends on what ingredients you use. The cocoa powder I'm using is Grated, which says 0 net carbs, but in the recipe macros, I'm using a Calibro dark cocoa powder. So the macros are a little bit higher for mine, but I always suggest putting your own ingredients into your carb manager or whatever app you use. Today I'm using an unsweetened cashew milk, which I believe is 0 net carbs for like a cup of it, or the less than 1. So it's probably 1 for 2 cups. Depending on the milk you use, it could be different. I like cashew milk as one of the creamiest ones, I think, for an alternative milk. At work, I've been using the So Delicious coconut milk, unsweetened, and that's probably a close second to creaminess besides the cashew milk. But depending on which one you use, it could be 1 or 2 carbs different. So just keep that in mind. But this is a pretty simple recipe. I already measured out my dry ingredients here. I'll put them up on the screen for you though. It is my pudding recipe. The only difference we're doing right now, and I'm going to turn this on low, I found out a little trick to doing this easier and faster at the bakery because I can't always stand there and stir constantly for like 30 minutes when I'm making pudding. So I've been turning my milk on real low on my induction burner and just letting it warm up slowly while I get the rest of my ingredients going. And that helps because once I go to add my dry ingredients into the milk, it's already halfway to boiling, so it works out good. But this thing is crazy fast, so it's already simmering. It's given my ingredients a whisk. I already sifted them. And the only other thing I gotta measure out, I changed the amount of gelatin. And you can do this a couple different ways. At first I just did 2 teaspoons extra gelatin. And then I did an extra half teaspoon of gelatin in my whipped cream. I made stabilized whipped cream. And that was enough to keep it together but still really soft and silky smooth, super soft pudding. But instead of doing that, I just put it all in at once into the pudding, and then I don't have to put any into the whipped cream. But if you want to add more whipped cream to the pudding mixture, I would make a stabilized whipped cream and add as much as you want. So I did that with some leftover. Well, one of my tests I didn't have really anything to do with this pudding that was thick and gelatinous. So I just mixed in a bunch of stable whipped cream and put it on some scrap cake, and that was dessert. Now, a lot of people were having trouble with my cook and serve recipe also. They're saying it wasn't getting thick. I don't know, obviously I can't be in the kitchen with everybody, so I'm not sure exactly what went wrong. But I think gelatin, it kind of make or breaks this recipe. I know that my beef gelatin, it's grass-fed beef gelatin that I get from Thrive Market. I know it works to thicken this to the exact right consistency. So if for some reason your cook and serve pudding isn't turning out, I would just rewarm it and bloom a little bit more gelatin and add it to it. That's the only way you're going to be able to save it. You just gotta warm it back up a little bit just to melt the gelatin. I would start with a half a teaspoon at a time because you don't want it too gelatinous. It doesn't taste good if it's like too jelly-like. I got 4 tablespoons of cold water here. I'm doing 3 1/4 teaspoons into the water. Pretty much anything in the baking world, I mean, besides if you like bake a cake completely wrong, even if as long as it tastes good, you can usually make something out of it. If it breaks into pieces, put it into a bowl, layer it with some of this pudding, and you got a trifle. Just call it something different, you know? That's what we do in the bakery. Like, we don't want to throw out product. If something doesn't work, we make something else out of it. So if something fails in the kitchen, like your pudding doesn't set, you can always make something else out of it. Just add in stable whipped cream, and you got a chocolate mousse, basically, like a fake chocolate mousse. There's always a way to save something. So add in your dry ingredients into your warm milk now. And this should not take long at all to come to a boil and start thickening. It's gonna thicken because there's arrowroot in there. Tiny bit. I know some people say it's not keto, but it's better than cornstarch or a modified cornstarch you're getting in your instant puddings and stuff like that. No matter what, if you're controlling the ingredients that are going into it, it's always a better option. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to use it, use it. Don't want to come at me in the comments, but once you whisk everything in, it's already boiling. Give it a stir. The spatula. Now this usually takes a long time, but this burner is crazy, and we heated up our milk already, so it went really fast. I don't have my pot holder over here. There's still chunks in there, so apparently I didn't sift it very well. But now we're adding our gelatin in. We're gonna strain this anyways, so if there's chunks, it's fine. We need this to chill before we add in the whipped cream. So once this is melted, we're going to strain it into a bowl. And you can do a couple different things. You can just let it chill in the refrigerator with plastic wrap on it till it is basically set, but not all the way set, like 70, 60 degrees, something like that. Or you can just keep stirring it until it gets down to the right temperature over an ice bath or in the refrigerator. Either one. You need it set, but like if it sets too much, it kind of, it doesn't get smooth. Even if you like beat it with a hand mixer or anything, it still kind of stays chunky. So you want to catch it before it gets too set. So that's all melted in there. Apparently I did not sift very well. I used a big hold sifter, I think. Sure you get all the stuff off the bottom of your sifter. If it's like mine, it's full of stuff. That could be some gelatin that makes it not set correctly. And since I got a bunch of stuff to do, I'm just gonna layer it with plastic wrap right on top and put it into the refrigerator. And I will try and time it. It's 9:04 to kind of give you an idea of how long it needs to be in there. And while we're doing that, we can make the pie crust, because that can just chill on the counter until we're ready to fill it. Just like that. You want it right on top. Otherwise, you will get pudding skin. Okay, we'll be back in a minute. I just got to get set up and we'll get going on the crust. Okay, we need 3 ounces of butter grated. So you want this nice and cold, which mine has been sitting out for a minute. So hopefully this grates okay. I'm going to throw this into the freezer. It'd be much easier if it was cold. Thought it was cold enough, but apparently I was wrong. It is mushy. Okay, 3 ounces. Throwing that right into the freezer. I put it right on the ice in there, and while I was in there, I grabbed some ice for ice water for our pie dough. The only other tool you need for this is a fork. I already weighed out my dry ingredients. This is my pie dough recipe from my faux apple pie recipe. I'll link that up there for you. It's a very simple recipe. 30 grams oat fiber, 30 grams of coconut flour, 29 grams or 1 scoop of unflavored whey protein, a teaspoon of xanthan, and a teaspoon of gelatin. And that's it. 3 ounces or 6 tablespoons of butter. I do salted butter, so I didn't put any salt in here. But if you do unsalted butter, just do a pinch of salt in your pie crust. And then it's just 6 to 8 tablespoons of ice water, and that's it. Okay, our butter is chilly now, frozen. Use the fork to get it into your dry ingredients so that you don't warm it up at all. It's easier if it was hard. It's not going to stick to your plastic if it was like not melty. But because it was melty, it stuck. So mix it up first. Get it kind of coated with your dry ingredients before you get in there with your fingers. All to cut down on your butter melting. You can use a pastry blender at this point, or what people use 2 knives. I just go in and break it up a little bit with my fingers. You want like pea-sized pieces. You can also do this in a food processor if you want to freeze some little tiny cubes of butter. Throw it in your food processor. A couple of pulses. I just sometimes don't like to dirty a bunch of big machinery. It's all up to you. Oh, and even if that butter was ice cold and I grated it, I would still put it into the freezer for a little bit. You want it nice and frozen so that it doesn't melt as much in your dry ingredients. You want chunks of butter. I'm going to start with 6 tablespoons of water. I would start, if I were you, start with less, because depending on what kind of like oat fiber and coconut flour you purchase, the absorption level could be completely different. You never know. And some oat fibers are different than others too. I found that out. Even the same brand, it turned out to be a little bit different this time I got it. 6 even might have been too much. We're going to need some oat fiber to probably roll this out. It's going to be sticky. You want to use the least amount of water possible to bring your dry ingredients together. So that's a little bit too wet of a consistency. We can always add a little bit of oat fiber later. I'm going to wrap this up and it has to chill. I'm going to throw it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes because I have some other stuff to do. But you can do it for 15 in the freezer. I'm going to wrap it real good in plastic wrap. Plus we got a lot of time on our pudding to chill too. So 30 minutes in the refrigerator. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours. Our pudding should be close to being ready to fold in some whipped cream and put into a pie shell. So we got to get our pie shell done. So I'm grabbing the dough out of the refrigerator, going to roll it and bake it. Preheating my oven to 350. I just actually reread my pie instructions and it said to roll out between 2 pieces of parchment. Probably a good idea, especially when you have like a wood surface. I was doing it at work on my stainless steel surface and it was fine. Probably be easier to do this. Got my 9-inch pie pan. I roll it out into a circle. Keep going around and you should get a circle every way. I always lift this up every once in a while and also flip it. And release it. And that's why we flip it, in case it's sticking. It's just about where we need it. It's a little bit thick over here, I can feel it. A little bit thinner over here. We do need to spray our pie tin. Do a little bit more this way. I think we're good. Give it a flip. And gently peel it away. And then there's not a lot of slack over here, so I'm going to pull from this side and push in. Even move it over a little bit. There we go. Pie crust is pretty forgiving. I'm going to trim off some excess. A little bit over here. A little bit shorter over there. Don't want to stretch this out too much. You want plenty of pie shell in there. And once all of it's trimmed, take it and fold it under so we can make a nice design around the edge. So to make a crimped edge, I take my 2 fingers like this and 1 finger like this and go like that. Squish it in all the way around. You can do all sorts of different designs. This is the one that I've just always grown up with doing. So, it's the one I'm used to. If you do have pie weights, I'd say you can probably use them in this recipe. It did shrink a little bit. I'm going to actually poke it a little bit. I'm going to actually throw this in the freezer for like 10 minutes because it's just really warm in my house. So it's really soft right now and I don't want it to get like too gooey. I'm going to clean up here. I'm going to throw that into the oven. and show you what it looks like when it comes out, and then we'll be on to our pie filling. Okay, the crust has been chilling for a while. It's nice and firm. I'll throw it in the oven. I'm gonna set it for 6, turn it, see where we're at, and I'll let you know how long it takes. Okay, so that was in for 11 minutes. I think we're good. Pretty crispy on the outside, golden brown. We're gonna let this cool. I pulled out our pudding and it is pretty thick, so I'm gonna have to use the beater on it and try and get it nice and smooth. 2 hours was plenty of time. Hour and a half probably would be enough. I have a 1/2 cup of whipped cream here. I got some Locanto powdered monk fruit erythritol blend, 30 grams. This is all up to you, sweetness level. You can choose however much you want to put in. Splash of vanilla. I'm just gonna beat this up till it's at soft peaks, and I'm gonna put some in there and whip that up, and then maybe whip it to stiff peaks and fold in the rest. Woohoo! Okay, it's at kind of soft peaks now. I love this thing. It's fast as hell, and I went to go order another one, and it's not in stock. So the Amazon link will be below, but I don't know if they'll ever have it back in stock. I was really bummed because I wanted to buy another one for the bakery, and they didn't have it. I'm gonna take just half of this into here and whip it up. I got it pretty smooth, I'd say. And we're just gonna beat this up a little bit more and fold this into that. Now, I'm gonna throw the crust in the refrigerator for like 2 minutes while I'm mixing this to hopefully cool it down enough so we can put it in there. I took the temperature of this. This is still, it was only at 59. So it wasn't fully gelled yet. It wasn't down to refrigerator temperature. So this will thicken up even more in the pie crust. But not too much. It'll be nice and silky smooth. I might do a little bit of stabilized whipped cream to decorate the top just to make it look pretty. And might shave some chocolate on top. We'll see. Time to put in our filling. Ooh, it's already setting. Whoop. I don't know, what would you call this? Chocolate pudding pie or chocolate cream pie? Does that have to be a certain thing to be chocolate cream pie? Custard or something? I brought over the mini offset so I could use it, and then I didn't. Oh, this out of there. At work, I put peanut butter in this. It was a little bit higher carbs, of course, because peanut butter. But you can add whatever flavoring you want to this. Add nuts. It looks good. Just gotta let this set up in the refrigerator until it's completely set so that we can slice into it. So our pie is pretty much set in there. I'm just gonna make a little bit of stabilized whipped cream to pipe around the edge. So I have 1 tablespoon of water in there. I'm doing a 1/2 teaspoon of gelatin. Bloom that in there. I have 1 cup of whipped cream, about 45 grams of powdered sweetener. This is a little bit more difficult to do this way, but I didn't want to pull out the stand mixer for this little bit of whipped cream we're doing. So we're at about soft peaks here. I got to microwave our gelatin. We are all melted. Now, the tricky part. So, I'm gonna get some of this in there quickly and then into here while whisking. It's a little bit more difficult doing it this way, but everything's dirty. It's all whisked up. Go like this, go like this. There you go. Whip to stiff peaks. And easy. Ooh, I just got a star tip I'm gonna put in there. Use the same container I used earlier, so there's some pudding remnants in there. Fill it too much. There you go. Small bags. I hate these. Let's get our pie. So 2, 4, 16. So it's perfect, 2 little rosettes per slice. That'll be 4 net carbs each. We only did 1 cup of cream, and there's still some in here and a bunch in here, so it's not going to add an extra carb at all to your pie. So let's get this sliced. Definitely save your whipped cream. You can put extra whipped cream on your slice. So if you go in between your rosettes, should get perfect 8 slices. Okay, let's see if the first piece comes out. You know, the first piece tends to never come out right. Forgot I was gonna grate some chocolate on top, but that looks pretty. Okay, now let's get this slice out. See if it comes out. Sprayed it, so hopefully it'll come out perfect. Oh, came out perfect. It's like just enough gelatin in there. Super flaky pie crust. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's gonna be so hard not to eat this whole piece. I haven't even had breakfast or lunch. This is delicious. Oh my God. This is the best one I made so far. I perfected it. It is perfect. Totally worth 4 net carbs. It's sweet, creamy, perfect amount of gelatin in there to just like melt in your mouth. Pie crust is tender and buttery. This is perfect. So good. Well, I hope you guys enjoy this recipe for yourself. It is so delicious. We got our chocolate cream pie. If you try out this recipe, let me know in the comments below what you think of it. What other kind of pies do you want? Possibilities are endless. Don't forget to check out my Amazon links and my Perfect Keto link in the description box below, along with the blog link to the full recipe. I did add a thank you button if you want to just thank me for a recipe. Someone suggested it, so I threw it on the underneath of my video. You can hit that button. YouTube does take a percentage though, so I did add a link in my description box for buy me a coffee if you would like to do that instead. I really appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll be back with many more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys.